it's time for another uncomfortable conversation with a married woman. This topic is very interesting to me. Now, what we're going to talk about today is that your happiness should not come from your spouse. I know it's going to be a little bit testy for some people, but hear me out. Go ahead and grab a drink and a snack, and let's talk about this. So the reason why this topic came into my mind is a couple of things. Number one, I saw this movie years ago, maybe 20 years ago. Actually, it's more than 20 years ago. My first date with my husband, that's a movie that we watched called Jerry Maguire. Now, in this movie, Renee Zellweger and what's his name? Mission Impossible dude. Tom Cruise. Sorry. Tom Cruise and Renee Zellweger. So they're in a relationship, on and off, usually relationship kinds of stuff in these kinds of movies. If you look, sometimes, a lot of times you see some parts of reality in it, and you can learn a lot. So in this movie, there was a phrase that I think it's Renee Zellweger that said to Tom Cruise. And the phrase was, "You complete me." I have been in love with that phrase ever since. But as I've grown a little bit more and evolved a little bit more in my life, especially my marital life, I'm like, wait, you complete me? Does that mean I was incomplete without you? No, ma'am, sir. That's what that means to me. So, without you, I'm incomplete? Before you came, I was incomplete? Mm-mm. Mm-mm. It's a very romantic phrase. Very romantic and very cute. But no. And this is the thing. If you are betrothed to somebody, if you're married, if you're thinking about getting married, this is the thing. Your happiness, your contentment in life cannot depend on anybody but you. It is so important for me to drive this home. Please, if you don't hear anything else that I say today, remember this. Your happiness or your contentment should not come from anybody but you. Okay? Even God can do everything he can to make you happy. If you don't receive it, you won't be. So it comes from you, it comes from within. What I am seeing, and I've experienced this to some point, where when people are married and then maybe one of them has to go away for a while for whatever reason, and the other's like, oh, can't, not that they can't survive, but their life seems upside down. Their routines are upside down. They feel like they have to be with their spouse at all times, all day, every day. In the beginning of my marriage, that's exactly what it was. My husband and I were joined at the hip, and I loved it. We did everything together. Listen, when we go and visit folks, you see this chair that I'm in? There are many chairs let's say there are many chairs in the sitting room, and we get there, we sit in the same, like, this is a one-person chair. We would be like this, and he'd be right there. And we'd be like, and he'd be right on me, like glue. We did this for 7 years. Our first 7 years of marriage, we did everything together. If I had to travel for my work, he was with me. He would take off from his job, and we'd go together. We did everything, and we loved it. Even today, when we go to a restaurant and they give us the bench seats, one bench here, one bench here, we sit in the same. I put my purse and my jacket here, and I make sure we're on each other. It's crazy. However, what I learned over the years. And it wasn't an intentional thing, but I have always been very independent. I just have been. If you watch the video about the baggage that I brought into my marriage, and I told you by the age of 10, I had lived in 10 different homes with 10 different family members, some from my father's side, some from my mother's side, some were friends of the family. And because I moved around so much, my happiness could not depend on who I was with at the time. I didn't have that luxury, right? So I had to figure out how to make myself happy so that wherever they moved me to, I am with myself, right? And so I find my happiness and my contentment with me. And that has made me one of those people that whatever situation you place me in, I thrive. Why? Because my happiness does not depend on my situation or my surroundings or who I am with. It is so important to learn this in your life. And yes, as human beings, when we lose people, of course it'll be painful. People that we love and trust, when we lose them to whatever thing, whether it was a fight or whether it is, death or sickness, whatever it is, that's normal. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is when it comes to your relationship with your spouse and you're at the point where when they're not there for whatever reason, whether you had a fight and they moved out, whether they traveled for an extended period of time, or whatever it is, that if they're not happy, you're not happy, or if they're not with you, you're not happy. You shouldn't live like that. Your happiness depending on somebody else is a trap. It may not be intentional, but it's a trap that you don't want to fall into. As I've said before, marriage is a journey. It is not a destination. It is important in this journey, even though you're partners with your spouse, that you don't lose who you are in that journey. Your innate being, your soul, your character, you can't lose it into somebody else. You can't, because life has ups and downs, okay? And the ups are wonderful. The downs are treacherous when they come. Let's say you've been on the up and up for the last 7 months. Everything's wonderful. And then you have 1 month of things are just, that 1 month seems like eternity. It does. And so in that period of time, if you have been so vested and so, I don't know the word, dependent on your spouse for your happiness, that 1 month period of time is intense and painful, much more than it should be. So that's why I say what I say when it comes to not losing yourself. You have to have your own activities that you enjoy by yourself, with your friends maybe. Some level of independence. Your spouse has to be able to do the same, and it's okay. You don't both have to have the same friends. It's fine if you have a group of friends together. It's also good to have your separate friends. It's so important. I don't even know how to truly emphasize how important that is. That individualism has to stay. You have to be rooted within yourself in God, each of you. Rooted in God, because that is where your spirit comes from, and your soul has to be able to survive in the trenches and be okay in the trenches where you don't lose yourself. Because what I've seen is that when the time comes when people have difficulties in their marriage, people they turn to drugs, they turn to pornography, they turn to drinking, you know what I mean, in order to drown the pain, because they were so dependent on the other person. You can't do that. It is easier said than done. I'll tell you that. It is easier said than done. And sometimes some of the pain and the strife happens in order to teach you to maintain who you are, to maintain yourself, so that you grow from it. And next time it happens again, because it will, it may not be the exact same thing, but in any relationship, you will have those ups and downs. And when it comes again, you are stronger for it, because before, when it happened, you learned certain lessons about yourself and resilience within yourself and dependence on God alone. Human beings will fail us, right? It's inevitable. They're human. We're fallen. So human beings, this hair, guys, this hair gets on my nerves. This one right here, it gets on my, why? Trying to look all put together, and then this one is just by itself. Who does that? Haters. If I didn't feel this until the kids came, and that's when I learned my lesson. Because when the kids came, we were forced to be apart from time to time, because we couldn't do things together all the time anymore. Because somebody had to take care of the kids, somebody had to do something else so that we could cover some ground and get things done, right? So I learned that way. It wasn't a difficult way to learn it, though, because the kids are there, you're engaged. It's not, like there's a void there that you have to fill, but it was something that taught me to depend more on God and myself for my happiness. Because I don't even know how to say it. There will be a time when, your spouse will do something where it kind of robs you of joy, but it has to be very temporary. You need to have a way to find it back yourself that is not detrimental to you, in the sense of you have to drink alcohol or take a drug or immerse yourself in pornography or destroy yourself in some way. No human being, nobody in this life is worth you destroying yourself for. Hear me, please. Please hear me. If you watch my previous video, I was talking about be kind to yourself and be respectful to yourself first and then to your spouse. This is based on that as well. Take care of you in here. In here. There are times when I tell my spouse, I'm like, I need to go away and just without the family, by myself. And I have always loved being by myself. So it's not like, oh, it's a new thing. No. I enjoy my own company. I don't know how to say it without sounding introverted and a little conceited, but I do enjoy my own company. You know what I mean? And I enjoy my spouse's company as well. There's nothing wrong with having both, but you definitely don't want to lose yourself in anybody else to the point where if they are not there for whatever reason, that you're destroyed, basically. So whatever you need to do now to steel yourself, S-T-E-E-L, to strengthen yourself, to resolve within yourself, to have that confidence and that happiness and that contentment within yourself, so that, yes, something happens, it'll shake you, but you come back from it. You know what I mean? So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Yes, there are some of these beautiful romantic phrases out there. You complete me. That sounds beautiful and romantic, but let that not be the reality. Because if I was incomplete before you came, I'm in big trouble if you leave. I am in huge trouble if you leave. Listen, the only person that completes me is God. Period. Without him, I don't know. I can't, that makes me even want to tear up just thinking about that. Without him, I don't know. But any other human being, I love everybody. I love love everybody. However, people make their own choices. Life happens. Life takes people away from us sometimes, and it is beyond painful, but we have to find a way to bounce back. And for me, my only bounce back is when I depend on Him who created me, who knows me better than I know myself. Do you know what I mean? So however it is that you are right now, in whatever relationship you are in, ask yourself that question right now. Does your happiness depend on your spouse? Part of it, maybe, and that's okay. But does your entire happiness depend on your spouse or your partner? If the answer is yes, let's find a solution to that. I'm not saying go push them away and tell them, hey, get out of my life so that I can see if I can move on without you. No, I'm not saying that. But within yourself, figure out how you can be independent in your contentment. You know what I mean? Where you are not feeling condemned because somebody may choose to leave you, or life may choose to take that person away from you. It's no easy feat. I'm grateful for my youth, my upbringing, because of my upbringing, innately it was woven into my being. So it wasn't something I had to strive to be or strive to do. But if I had to figure out how to do it myself, I don't have any advice for you for that. Find some self-help books to see if that'll help you to get to that point where you make yourself happy, you make yourself content, and what your spouse does for you is a plus, it's a bonus. You know what I mean? So that's your homework. Go do that. If you find any good books, let me know, and I'll share it on this platform for everybody else so that we can all benefit from it, okay? So thank you, as always, for joining me here. It's been a pleasure, of course. Don't forget, you must subscribe. Please share this video. Give it a thumbs up also. And hit that notification bell because you want to know when I post new fun discussions that we can have. And make sure to remember this. In order for your marriage to thrive, you must be respectful to yourself and to your spouse. And you must be kind to yourself and to your spouse. Until next time,